Hi guys, and welcome back to the 80-something episode of the Yarn Junkie podcast. My name is Amber. I'm coming to you from my home in Texas where I live with my husband, our 3 daughters, and many pets, one of which I have right here. This is my little Frenchie Suki. She is my little shadow, my best friend. She follows me everywhere, and we're kind of matchy today. So I'm wearing the Blue Sands cardigan, and you'll have to forgive me, I have no idea the pattern designer. I knit this 4 years ago when I was pregnant with my youngest daughter, and I can't believe she'll be 4 in 4 days. So it's December something. My phone, I'm actually recording on a new device, my phone, instead of the camera. Someone said the video quality was really grainy, so hopefully this ups it, but I also have no idea how much video my camera will hold, or my phone will hold. So, but Ruby will be 4 in 4 days, and her sister made one of these little countdown chains. The poor kid has had both of her older sister's birthdays and my birthday in November. And so we've had all this birthday celebration going on, and she's just been like, is it my birthday yet? And she's a Christmas baby. She was born December 20th, 4 years ago. So we're so excited to be able to celebrate her coming up in just a few days. I have tons to get through and show you guys, so I'm just going to dive right in. I didn't show this last time, but I had actually finished it. I just forgot to show it off. This is the Velvet Moon pattern, and it's not on Ravelry. I got it off of Etsy. I saw it on Instagram and bought the pattern off of Etsy. So Velvet Moon pillow crochet pattern, and it should come up. And there's 2 different sizes included in the pattern. I knit the largest size, and I love it. I love how it turned out. Atrella is who I knit this or crocheted this for her 16th birthday, and she loves it. It goes really well with the aesthetic of her room, and she's used it a ton. Like every time I go in there and see her laying on her bed, she's somehow arranged it, whether it's, you know, where she's laying on it like this, or she's like spooning it, and she really likes it. And I do really love, I know I mentioned I ran out of the yellow and I couldn't find it anywhere. So Tim suggested the blue, and at first I didn't like it, but now that it's finished, I feel like blue was definitely, this navy was the way to go, because I just feel like it gives it that extra something. But I think this was knit with like crocheted, with Lion Brand homespun maybe or something. I just picked it up at our local Walmart, and yeah, it was very, very fun and fast to make. These baubles took me the longest only because I put the project in timeout while I decided if I liked the blue or not. So now Suki is snoring. I'm sure you guys can hear that. I'm thinking about getting rid of her, but she's so comfy, guys. She's just in my lap. I love her so much. Oh my goodness. Okay, another finished object is Ruby's birthday sweater. So she's already worn this and she loves it. She kept it on almost all day, which is really surprising because usually she wants to take off her like long sleeves. She's very hot natured. She hates wearing pants. Like, it's an issue. So this is her Woodland popcorn pullover is the pattern. And I really enjoyed knitting this. I enjoyed the yarn I used. The stitch definition is terrific. It feels really cool and textured. So when she's wearing it, I'm just constantly petting her, and she calls it her booby sweater. I think I've talked about it on a previous episode, but she'll sit there and tweak the little baubles and calls it her booby sweater. So I really loved this finished object, and I'm so glad it's done. It kind of turned into me racing to knit the sleeves so I could be sure it was done by her birthday. And since she's already seen it, I probably won't wrap it, but she hasn't seen this and she doesn't know I'm making it. So this is this pattern for the children's sweater is a paid pattern, but it has a doll version that's a free pattern. And so I'm knitting up her baby doll, a little sweater. And I did size up my needles. I mentioned last time I cast it on and it was going to be way too small for the baby doll I wanted to make it for. And so I restarted it with bigger needles, but it's still too small for that doll. She does have another doll that it fits, so it's not a miss. And I did not feel like fiddling with popcorns on such a tiny circumference. So the sleeves on the doll cardigan or pullover did not get put in. I was just not going to fiddle with that few stitches and having to make all these popcorns. And I don't think it looks bad. I do need to knit this other sleeve, get all these ends woven, and it does have a little pair of bloomers that I could knit to go with it, and I probably will just so the set's complete, but it probably won't be get done by her birthday. It'll just be added later and she'll be like, oh look, you knit my doll things. And this has honestly really made me want to go through like all my scraps and just knit a bunch of doll clothes for her. She does play with her babies quite a bit, and despite what I said last time about my kids not really wearing a lot of my knit stuff, since she's worn this sweater and since like I just love it on her, it's made me want to cast on more things for her, okay? For her specifically, because my older two are adamant, like, don't knit for me. I don't know if I talked about this, but Atrella actually wants me to crochet her a granny square cardigan. And I feel like I'm going to go through so much work to make that for her, and for her to maybe wear it like as a goof a few times isn't worth it for me. But then again, she's kind of quirky and she may wear that thing to death. I just don't know. I think I should just go for it and make it for her. It's very in style right now. The granny squares are coming back, y'all. Long live crochets. Crochet forever. But yeah, so that's that. I haven't knit very much on this because I got sidetracked on another project that I'll talk about in a minute. I did try to have another finished object for you guys to show off. I was decreasing on my Harlow hat, and somehow I got off on the decreases, and I was just going to fudge it, but then on the next round of decreases, I was having to tink back, and then I got called away because of a kid situation, and my needles slipped out, and in a fit of rage, I just ripped them out. I was just like, this is dead to me. So sad face, because I really wanted to get this done for Tim for Christmas. It's no real loss. What is the best thing, honestly, is I really loved the meditation I got out of this project while I was knitting it. I love the squishy yarn. The yarn is still intact and beautiful, so I can just rip this out and re-begin it when I have some more mental focus to get those decreases right and have a happy finished project. So unfortunately, this is going to go back into the stash for an undetermined amount of time because it just needs to be ripped out and reknit. It's my solution. Tim was like, I can figure it out. I can put the needles back in. And I was like, no. Brioche is so hard with all of the yarn overs. You have to make sure to pick them all up, that you're not twisting anything. I would just rather reknit it. I know that may be madness, but that's just me. I did put some work into my weekender, not as much as I would have liked because another project got me sidetracked, but I showed you guys the finished body last time, and I've knit this much of one sleeve. And I was really trying to cheat the system and just not alternate on the sleeves, but you can see it started to do some pulling, and then on the back there's a larger, and I didn't want these like chunky stripes throughout my sleeve, and so here where the yarn is dangling, I picked up and started contrasting at that point, or alternating the yarns at that point, and you can see it evened it out much nicer, and I think I'm going to love that a lot better. And that teaches you not to cheat the system, but I think I will get so much wear out of this. I'm kind of motivated to finish it at this point just because I think I'll get a lot of wear out of it. Definitely a product knit for me. But yeah, I'm enjoying it, just not so much now on alternating every round really with this new yarn. So The yarn I'm using is Miss Babs Wowza in her, it's kind of a DK worsted weight, and the color Coffee Break. And I've had it for ages. I'm so glad to finally be knitting it into something useful. So the project that has taken the most of my focus since we last sat down and spoke 2 weeks ago, which I can't believe it's been 2 weeks. We've done a lot. This is the Soldanta pattern by Caitlin Hunter, and a lot of people have knit it. It's all over the interwebs, but I wanted to do a Christmas version. I had all these yarns in my stash and just kind of pulled out random various colors that seemed Christmassy, and most of these are fingering weight that I had to hold double, and I think I showed off my yarns last time, if I'm not mistaken. I may not have. I am to the point now almost where I'm separating for the sleeves, but I love it. It's so cheerful and exciting, and I can't wait to get to the body portion. But the yarns I'm using is, the red is a Buffalo Fibers company in Tomato, I believe was the colorway, and it has, I had the tag somewhere, has, I want to say yak in it or buffalo, one of the two, and merino, which is really cool because it has these littler fibers that are kind of poking out ever so often. It just makes it fun to work with, to have a different feel of the yarn than just merino nylon. I have no idea, honestly, what this yarn is. This was gifted to me in a swap, and I've long since lost the ball band. And so I divided it up and knit with 2 different balls. And I'm going to have a ton of this left because I'm done working with this color. So this will go back into the stash for something else Christmassy. And then on my white, I actually used a scrap of Malabrigo Natural and used it all up and had to cut in some Madeline Tosh on the last 2 rows of the white. But that was okay. That worked out because I had some more natural as well. And then this is Little, I forget the name of her shop. Little Tailoress was like her podcast and her Instagram. She's since had another baby, I believe. But she was dyeing yarn for a time, and this is where that yarn came from. So this will be my main body colorway, and these 2 are the same color, but they're on different bases. That's why they look different. But I think with holding them together in the same project, it adds this really nice marling effect almost, and I don't mind it. You can actually probably see it better in this section. Just a really pretty Christmassy kind of teal green. And I was working on this and decided, I tried a lot of different ways to do color work, which isn't probably the best idea to do when you're making a wearable garment, to switch the ways you're holding the needles and the yarn. But I did, and I definitely have some puckering throughout that I think will block out nicely. My floats on the inside are really quite relaxed and loose in most places, and so I have a bit of wiggle room. And I was just very conscientious making this, and so I put a lot of time and thought and effort into it. And I watched a lot of color work videos where people were holding the yarn differently, and came across a video with someone using this, and it's all tangled up in my yarn right now. Let me try to get it out. But it's a color work thimble is what I believe. I looked under Amazon and found it there, but I actually went and got it at Hobby Lobby. So it looks like this, which I'm sure everyone's seen them. And so you put one color in this side and one color in this side, and you can just hold it on your finger and it separates the colors. And I actually really, really, really like it until it's time to put your project down. And it's just really fiddly and kind of annoying, but in the act of knitting, I find I'm going a lot faster and able to manage my floats a lot more neatly with this tool. And it was $1.99 at Hobby Lobby. So go get you one if you like doing color work because I find it to be very helpful. Sorry, I'm arranging my needles so they're not poking through my project and putting it back in this bag. This is my Fringe Supply bag in the tartan colorway. It's a waxed canvas. This is one of my favorite Christmas bags. But I also have put a lot of work into Tim's cardigan, but I have absolutely nothing to show for it. So I showed you last time that I cast on the ribbing for his cardigan, and I felt like it was a lot of stitches, but I just was going with what the pattern said. I did a really good job taking his actual measurements and knowing and listening to kind of how he wanted the cardigan to fit him. And for reference, I'm knitting the Jones by Tin Can Knits. So it's just a cabled cardigan, pretty simple, button down. It's exactly what he wanted. And I felt like when I was knitting those stitches on my tiny circular, my stitches were all bunched up. I was like, this seems like a lot. And so my Chow Goose set has the extension. So I put the needle extension together. And so I had this really long piece. It almost covered my king size bed, and I put it around him, and there was no way. It was like 4 or 5 inches on each side. Like it overlapped by quite a bit when you brought the whole piece around him. Luckily, I'd only done, 1.5 inch of ribbing plus 1 or 2 rounds of the moss stitch. I was so angry. I mean, that was a lot of work though. You were talking over 300 and some odd stitches that they want you to cast on. I'm trying to find it. And I lost the first page. Terrific. I'll have to print it out again. Do y'all know how often I lose pages of patterns? And I try to put them in those sleeve protectors, but I'm not always good about doing that. But I remember it being over 300 stitches. And it was just way too big. And so I said, okay, let me knit a gauge swatch like you do, or you should have done previous to starting your project. And I knit a gauge swatch on 6-inch needles with the moss stitch like they said. And it was huge. It was huge. I think it was 8 inches or something. It was supposed to be 4. I was like, oh, okay. So I was knitting Hagrid a sweater. Terrific. Let me rip this out and re-begin. And Tim was like, isn't there any way? Can't you just chop that link off? Or no, you have to re-begin. It's a whole thing. And so I've been knitting swatches and switching my needle and trying to figure it out for about a week now. And I'm still no further because this is on a size 5 and my moss stitch is supposed to be 4 inches. Yeah, 24 stitches and 4 inches. Like I wouldn't be able to get that on, I think I'd have to go down to like a 3 or even a 2.5, which I don't want to knit him an entire cable cardigan with DK worsted weight yarn at that gauge. It's just not going to be enjoyable for me, I don't think. And so I've been trying to play around with the numbers on. So this is my question to you guys. You much wiser than me knitters out there. I need your advice. So based off of my making things too big for him, based off of my gauge is too wide, wouldn't I just size down in the pattern to knit him something using still the 6s or 5s and like knit him a large instead of a 2X? Would that work and it still be the right size? You see what I'm saying? Can y'all help me with the math on that? Because that's one of my biggest weaknesses being a knitter, is struggling with the math facts. And I just cannot do it, y'all. Cannot do it. So if y'all have the answers, leave me a comment. If you have tutorials that y'all follow based off of that, but definitely link them. That'd be a huge help. I just don't know what I'm doing, and I want to knit him a sweater. He deserves it. And yeah, I'm just excited. I'm just excited to do this project, but I don't want to put all this time, effort, work into something that would fit Hagrid. That would not be fun. I would cry. I would cry. I've also been working on, and I just have this tucked into this bowl on my kitchen counter. I really wanted to knit the baby a hat after finding these at Hobby Lobby when I went there for the thimble. I couldn't pass these up. I've always loved those cute little hats with the 2 pom-poms, and so I snatched these up. They were $1.99 each, and they're the kind of mini ones. Like, here's a normal size pom-pom. Then there's like this one. Oh, so cute. It's tiny. So I already knew I had yarn in the stash. I had some mohair left over from knitting her pinguono, and I've just had this in the stash. I'm pretty sure it's a Madeline Tosh cashmere worsted. I think I was going to knit a hat at some point and never got around to it. But I've cast on, and what I really want to just do, I was thinking cables at first, but just a square hat, you know, no decreases, where you just bind off so it has that like closed tapered top. You know what can y'all imagine what I'm talking about? So it looks like a box. There's no decreases, and then you just cinch close the top and it looks like ears, where you can maybe sew and it even looks more like ears. I probably won't sew it. I'll probably just attach the pom-poms to either side so it's floppy and silly. But I just imagined her in this cute little cabled hat when we go to New Mexico next week for Christmas. And then I started thinking, instead of cables, I could do the Honeycomb Brioche stitch. And I watched a couple tutorials, and I haven't sat down and began the first row. I've just been having a lot go on with kids in and out of the house and other obligations, but I hope that I'll sit down and at least get myself familiar with the pattern, and hopefully that can be my road trip knitting on the way to New Mexico, because it takes us about 13 hours to get there, depending on how many stops we make. And so that will be good, a good little project to just have to work on, and hopefully get some cute pictures of Ruby in the snow with her new hat. I have this from Christmas past that I made. This was a crocheted, this is just something out of my own mind. I did a little simple crocheted base and did some front post stitches and did a crocodile stitch pattern up the top, decreasing as I went. And yeah, so it's just a little crochet Christmas tree. I think this was like Line Brand yarn. I'd really like to find this yarn base again. I really enjoyed working with it, but it was a singles, and it was kind of a gradient, but all the colors were very similar, so it was a low-key gradient. I have no idea what it was called because that was eons ago, but I'd really like to find that yarn again and make something with it. I think that's all. I had a coaster to show you guys too, but I don't know what I did with it. Here it is. I also crocheted this coaster many Christmases ago, and I'm sure I've showed it off on the podcast, but I wanted to show again because these are just really quick, simple decorations that you could pop out, crank out, crochet up right before Christmas. So I just started off with a gold in the middle, and then did the African flower motif around in a red, and then added a green, and then did a crab stitch border around the edge. And those are just really cute, like for your mom or mother-in-law, like a little set of coasters that you can make, or your crafty friend would appreciate those. So that's all I have for you guys knitting wise. I'll talk about life stuff a little bit. Like I said, we just celebrated everyone's birthday. I shared with you guys we went to McKenna Knittery for my birthday, for Prudence. Atrella's Sweet 16. I don't think I ever told you what we did for Prudence's birthday. We went to Great Wolf Lodge and the mall and did shopping and hanging out, and it was fun. Great Wolf Lodge, if you don't know, it's a hotel, but it has an indoor water park on part of it. And so you get tickets to the water park all day and get to kind of go in there and hang out and experience summertime in the dead of winter, which is nice, especially for November-born children who don't get swimming parties for their birthday. And for Trella, it was her Sweet 16, so Dad kind of up the ante, and he rented one of those stretch limousines for her and her friends, and they picked them up from school on Friday, drove them 2 hours because we're very rural, 2 hours to the mall that we took Prudence to, the same mall up in Grapevine Mills Mall is not too far from both of the hotels we stayed at. And they did shopping and dinner kind of on their own, and Dad and I drove in a separate car, and we did shopping and dinner on our own. And then as far as the events at the Gaylord Texan, which is a really nice hotel that has a spectacular Christmas time. Definitely check it out if you're ever in the area at Christmas time. They have like indoor sledding and ice skating and this whole little carnival type of attraction stuff. Not carnival, but festival. So I bought them tickets to several of those things, and them being teenagers thought most of that was kind of lame and would have rather just hung out in the pool, the hotel pool. So I was like, great, so glad that, we planned all these events for y'all to want to just go swimming and watch TV in your rooms. Terrific. But it was fun. I actually got a spa day while we were at the Gaylord, got a massage, a facial, and a mani-pedi, which was really nice and relaxing. And since then, it's just been, we've been decorating for Christmas. The girls have their last week of school this week. Atrella's doing finals, and Prudence has been prepping for her class Christmas party, which is tomorrow. And Ruby is just asking me every single day, when is her birthday? So hopefully her birthday will come soon. For her birthday, we have just really, it's simple. She's still really small, so she doesn't have a lot of friends. We're just going to do a family dinner of her favorite foods. She's requested a pink cake. She loves pink and purple, but pink cake. And we are going to cook her favorite food for dinner and drive around and look at Christmas lights. We thought that would be a really good low-key family activity to do with her for her birthday. So thanks so much for coming back to join me or for checking me out if you're new. Hopefully this video quality is better. It looks better on my end, but we'll see once we get it uploaded how it does. Yeah, just thanks for checking me out, and I won't be back until the new year for sure because Christmas break and I'll have all my kids home. But hopefully y'all have some great Christmas time or holiday time with your families. If you're traveling, definitely stay safe and well. And I'll see y'all after the new year. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.